There are 5 versions or patches of Call of Duty 1, 1.1 through 1.5. 1.5 is the latest patch, but weirdly enough, it's not the version that has the most active players. You may be wondering what servers are still around on these older versions of COD 1, and how to get the older versions. This video will go over that in addition to the differences between each version. Let's take a look. So what versions still have servers? Let's start at the beginning. 1.1 is the oldest version and appears to have the most active servers. Okay, so this is 1.1, currently getting 86 servers. We have 33 people on a Carrington match. That's insane. This is just a number that you would not really get in 1.5 very often. See, what I love is that Harbor S&D is like alive and kicking, like even apparently on a server that's close to me, like in the US. This would have to be in the US, right? Multiple Harbor SD maps with people in them. 20 people on Harbor S&D. Okay, let's sort by players now. The one at the very top is basically a troll. It just tells you to get United Defensive. That's all it does. But look at this! 1.2 is the first patch of the game and usually doesn't have any servers except Tuesdays and Saturdays, apparently at 9 PM Moscow time, which is 10 AM here on the West Coast. I was pretty lucky to find this server. I just happened to open 1.2 on a Saturday while working on this video and I saw one lone server running, so I joined it. It was fun. 1.3 has one server, which is a rifles only server that I run. I keep it up just in case anyone is stuck with 1.3 or refuses to patch their game. 1.4 has 2 servers that are usually empty. In 1.5, the latest and greatest version, has over 100 servers, but only some of them are active depending on the time of day. There's this one mirror. Reign of the Undead is just a mirror on all versions of COD 1, from what I can tell. Carrington, the vast majority of the people on here aren't even playing. They're just connecting over and over again. And then now we've got RMS, Blue Monkey, Euro Rifles. These are the top 3 that you usually see. That being said, do check out my 1.5 rifles only server, Paul's Rifles. We usually play weeknights at 7 PM Pacific time, and sometimes the server gets to max capacity playing classics like Harvard TDM. More info about that in the description. There's also technically a 1.5b version, but it's just a patch for multiplayer servers, which fixes an exploit used to crash them. You can patch your non-Steam 1.5 install, but it won't change the servers displayed. Now I'll go into the instructions for getting the older versions if you want to check them out for yourself. Let's first get 1.1. That way it will be easy to install the other versions. I found a guide on CodJumper that explains the changes that need to be made to get 1.1, so let's go through this real quick. This can be done with either a Steam or CD install of COD. First thing you want to do is duplicate your Call of Duty folder and rename it to something like COD 1.1. I usually put mine under Program Files x86. Next, delete the Pack 8, Pack 9, Pack A, Pack B, and localize Packs 2, 3, and 5. Now you're going to need some COD 1.1 multiplayer files that you can't get otherwise. Use the link I provided in the description labeled COD 1.1 MP files. Download and extract the files to your downloads folder, then copy the codmp.exe file and replace, and do the same thing for the MP files in your main directory. So now that you've done that, just open codmp.exe, make sure you see 1.1 in the bottom right corner of the main menu. If you do, you've got 1.1. Now to get other versions, you first duplicate your 1.1 folder and rename it, i.e. COD 1.2. Then go into the registry and open the registry key that you see here. Underneath it, there's a version property. Change that to 1.1. Finally, run the patch for the version you want to install, links in description, and make sure to select the correct folder when prompted. Repeat these steps for any other versions you want. Just make sure to update the registry before each patch. Okay, so now you have the versions you want. You may be wondering what the differences are between each. Well, thankfully, the developers wrote full patch notes and even included it with your install. If you go to the docs folder for your 1.5 install, you should see a file named readmepatch1.5.rtf. This document has all the patch notes for each version, except 1.5b, which is a separate file. So you can read through this and learn the differences. I'll go over some of the major ones here, and a few that this document doesn't reflect. Sniper rifles were kinda overpowered in 1.1. You used to be able to zoom in and out faster, which made them less clunky and kinda less like a sniper rifle. This got fixed in 1.2. Hitboxes were patched in 1.3 to be more accurate. Anyone who's played 1.3 probably remembers prone jumping. That was like the meta of 1.3. Well, 1.4 fixed that. Newville and Bocage were new maps introduced in 1.3. Stalingrad was introduced in 1.4 and Tiger Town was introduced in 1.5. I find it interesting that the developers wrote detailed descriptions of the maps in a World War II tense and even provided suggested game types for use in association, such as Newville and Tiger Town, which were meant to be played in search and destroy mode. The headquarters game type, or HQ, was introduced in 1.2. Kill cam and team balance features were also added in that version. Punkbuster was introduced in 1.4, which was anti-cheat software that, in my opinion, kinda failed. 1.2 added banning commands for server admins. I don't know if that means that it wasn't possible before 1.2 to actually ban people, but I'm just gonna assume it was. 1.5 introduced a feature known as Match Timeout, which, to be honest, in my 14 years of playing this game, I had never heard about. This needed to be configured on the server side, but basically allowed any player not in spec to call a timeout via the console. Calling a timeout freezes all in-game controls except chat and usage of the console, as far as I could tell. I really wonder if any server owners knew about this feature or used it back in the day. I know the PAM mod has a similar feature built in, but otherwise I can't say I've ever seen a timeout in a server. What's kind of funny about this part of the patch notes is that it tells us to use a console command, but then if we scroll up a bit, it says usage of the console is not supported. Another major feature that 1.5 added was HTTP redirection. I'm sure you all know that feeling of joining a COD 1 server back in the day and seeing that the download speed for a mod or map was stuck at a crawl. That's because in 1.4 and previous versions there wasn't a way to download files faster through the game client itself. With 1.5, server owners could specify a URL that the game client should redirect to when the player needed to download files to join the server. This was a huge breakthrough for heavily modded servers like Army of Excellence and the like, which catered to an audience that enjoyed playing COD 1 with modern weapons. Finally, bug fixes. Let's just go over a few of them. There's probably some interesting ones, right? Let's take a look. Let's start at the very top here. For 1.4, corrected an issue in Search and Destroy where leaning while planting the bomb could cause the player to lean further than intended. This one I don't really remember, honestly, and I played 1.3 a lot, specifically S&D. Maybe if I saw it, it would jog my memory, but I can't picture it. Corrected an issue where a player could spawn without a gun model if the round ended while on a ladder. Damn, I do not remember that happening in 1.3, but now I kind of want to see if I can get that to happen. Let's go into 1.3 here. Interesting. So radios for headquarters used to be solid. I wonder how that made it easy to exploit them. Fixed an exploit where prone players who leaned around corners could see the enemy without being seen. What the heck? I'd love to see that. Interesting. This is the 1.3 patch notes, and it says it fixed an exploit where players could switch between prone and jumping positions to move rapidly across the map. I don't think they fixed that in 1.3, because you can still do the prone jump. Whoa. This is actually way different than 1.3. You just keep pressing control and space. This is weird as fuck, dude. What the fuck? This is an interesting one. Fixed a bug where players in all areas of the map heard the click of an empty weapon. Meaning that when you have an empty weapon and it makes the sound that there's no ammo, everybody in the server heard it. Like, it wasn't localized sound, it was just like you could hear it. That's wild. The screenshot JPEG, and record console commands no longer overwrite existing files. I don't think they fixed that for demos, did they? Because I know sometimes when I do record and the file already exists, as far as I could remember, it just overwrites it. And that's one thing that if you mess up your demo name when you're doing the record command, it can really, you can lose a lot of really good footage if, you use the same name. I don't think they actually fixed this in 1.3. Fixed player pings in the scoreboard. Previously, if you were spectating someone, your display ping was for the person you were spectating. This actually kind of ties in with something I saw in 1.1. I was on a server in 1.1, and in S&D mode, when everyone's dead on one team, everybody in the server gets the same ping. Alright, let's get into 1.2. Okay, this is a big one. You no longer have a weapon when planting the bomb. Basically, when you plant a bomb in 1.1, your weapon is still up, right? You can still shoot, so then you could defend yourself and plant at the same time. So apparently they fixed this in 1.2, but they must have broken it in the next patch, because in 1.3 it was still possible to do this. This one's kind of interesting too. When a player lands after jumping, his speed is briefly reduced. I guess bunny hopping was a thing in 1.1. I'll have to try that. Well, that just about covers it. Let me know if you like these COD 1 discussion videos, and I will see you next time.